Hi, Lenny.
Hi, Nancy.
Welcome to episode 123 of the Front Porch Book Club.
The Front Porch Book Club is a podcast that meets twice a month.
We like to dig deep into the relationship between characters and the worlds they live in.
Grab your book and iced tea and join us on the front porch.
Well, Lenny, I have an update from Deborah Curtis.
Let me hear it.
Our author from our last episode texted me some information about a company her daughter Emma started. You know, she has the twins. Yeah. So her daughter Emma started a bra company right after college. She designs bras for disabled women who might have limb differences, for instance, or other chronic diseases, or they might be missing a hand or an arm or fingers that make attaching a bra difficult. So she started this company, and it's front closures using magnets instead of like hooks or Velcro or zippers or anything like that.
Wow.
The company is called Liberare, and it's LIBERARE.co. And you can go on there and see how the bras fasten. It looks great. All different sizes. They've been reviewed in Vogue and Forbes and Good Morning America and Good Housekeeping and lots of places. They say they're the easiest bras to put on. No hooks, no hassle, no dexterity or mobility needed. Easy for all. No wires, pure comfort and support.
I love that. I think that's good for senior citizens. That might be good for Linda Culbertson. Are you kidding me? Oh my golly, that's a great idea.
It's a great idea. And I'll tell you, I like a front closing bra.
I know you do.
Yeah. That's funny that you know that about me.
Oh, I know that about you. We're sisters. I know this.
Yeah. So I'll put the link on this episode's show notes. But yeah, it just looks like a great company.
Oh, it's a great problem solver. I wish her all the success in that.
Absolutely. Well, today the book we're reviewing is Where the Girls Were by Kate Schatz. This book is set in 1968 San Francisco. In it, 17-year-old Elizabeth Phillips, whose nickname is Baker, is a high school senior. She's set to be her school's valedictorian. She plans to go to Stanford for college and become a famous journalist and probably live in Paris along the way, somewhere in there. But then her older and more freewheeling cousin invites her to a party where she indulges in what it would feel like to be the not-so-perfect daughter, and she falls into a passionate secret relationship with a young hippie, Wiley.
I love his name, Wiley.
That's a great name.
We got this book from Random House, and it's one of those advanced reader copies, which I didn't even know existed. But now that we do podcasts, we get these sometimes.
Yes.
So thanks to Peter Dyer for giving us this book ahead of time. It's just going to be released in a day or two. I love this book. It takes us back to 1968, baby.
Whoa.
And we're living it through Baker's eyes and the upheavals of that time, which, of course, Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. was that year in 68. Robert F. Kennedy's assassination. 68 is also her senior year. We've got civil unrest at home. We've got the Democratic National Convention violent protests. We've got LBGA's decision not to run for reelection. So it's an interesting time in history that she is experiencing.
Yeah. I was really interested in learning a little bit more about women's reproductive rights in 1968, since that is a central part of what goes on in this story. So 1968 is generally the 1960s, the beginning of a new era of sexual freedom in the United States, though it was not unanimously embraced. It was still contentious. The birth control pill had been approved in 1960 and IUDs in 1968, so that very year. And that allowed women to separate the experience of sex from childbearing And this did help facilitate the sexual revolution. However, access to contraceptives, especially for single women, remained restricted in many areas, and most doctors required parental consent for unmarried women under 21 to receive birth control. Pope Paul VI reaffirmed the Catholic Church's opposition, in fact, to any sort of artificial contraception and rejected the recommendations made by his predecessor, Pope John the 23rd. California and several other states were beginning to broaden access to the total ban on abortions in the United States, but only when there was, one, substantial risk that continuance of the pregnancy would gravely impair the physical or mental health of the mother, or two, the pregnancy resulted from rape or incest. Abortion for any other reason was illegal, and therefore, to obtain one, it was extremely dangerous. This sparked the need for safer, more accessible care, and women at this time began creating their own health resources to challenge the male-dominated, paternalistic medical establishment, and also to fight politically for access to women's sexual health.
Right. So we've got the pill, which is great. And the IUD, I'm surprised that came out that early. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
But Roe v. Wade was 1973.
Yeah.
So still quite a ways in the future here.
Yeah.
We should know that when we were born, it was still a crime to have an abortion.
Oh, absolutely. And in this book, 1968, for Baker, given the circumstances of her pregnancy, she would not be eligible for an abortion because she could not argue that she was going to be gravely impaired physically or mentally, and this was not the result of a rape or incest.
And you just feel bad for the women that did have rape or incest, because for them to say that would be just a huge barrier, right?
It would be a huge shame,
yeah,
especially at that time.
Yeah, that's just horrible. Okay, so let's talk about Baker.
Okay.
Baker is a high school senior with a lot of dreams. Her parents have a lot of high expectations for Baker. She is willing at the beginning of the book to meet those expectations.
Mm-hmm.
She feels that they're living through her in some ways to gain social status through her success of being a smart girl and doing writing and doing all the things that she's good at. She's always been a very good girl, too. Mm-hmm. She focuses on studying, but something's got to give. She doesn't have very many friends or close girlfriend relationships.
Yeah.
So in many ways, she goes to school and she comes home and studies. That kind of leads to a sheltered life and a whole lot of pressure. So what did you think of Baker, Nance?
I thought Baker was absolutely delightful. I loved her. I loved how the author gave us access to her thoughts and her feelings. Like so many of us, she is a bundle of ambitions and dreams and hopes and fears and areas of great knowledge and areas of just great stupidity. She is a bundle of all of it, and especially at 17. So I loved her. I thought she was great. I was totally convinced that she was very smart, that she was ambitious, and I totally bought that she was beginning to get uncomfortable with her parents' expectations and starting to really consider what her parents' plan was for her life and how that was or maybe wasn't her plan for her life. And then I thought just her character development throughout this book was really well done. The parents, especially at the beginning, are very intertwined with her character. They're strivers, I would say. They're not particularly happy with one another or with their lives. They do live through Baker, and they haven't given Baker a whole lot of guidance except for this plan that you're going to be the valedictorian and you're going to go to Stanford and you're going to be the bright shining star among all of your cousins and in the neighborhood so that we can brag about you. She really knows nothing about sex. And the book even opens that she's not even that familiar with her own body. Like, she doesn't look at her own body naked in the mirror ever. And so to do so at the beginning of the book, that feels very uncomfortable to her. She's certainly at this point in her life not even thinking about birth control, even if she could get it, which she would not be able to get it, at least legally. So when she and Wiley have spontaneous sex on New Year's Eve, she is not even really thinking that much about birth control. It's Wiley who asks when she last had her period. And she's like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And he's like, okay, that sounds good. And there's no moon out, so we're fine. And she's like, it doesn't completely make sense to her, but she doesn't really question it. And you just think, wow, smart girl in some ways, not so smart in other ways.
No. And I actually did some research on sex education in 1968 because I'm like, how can she be so naive?
Yeah.
Why doesn't she know certain things? I was perplexed by all of this. And it seems like it was sort of all over the board.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to say that California, I would think would be a little bit more liberal, but it's 1968. Not everybody lived in Haight-Ashbury.
Ronald Reagan was the governor at that time, so I think it was a more conservative state than now maybe we typically think of it.
Yeah. In 1978, when I had health education, things had come a little bit further, but I missed my whole unit because I had driver ed.
That's right.
So I learned everything that I needed to know from sex education from my best friend, Becky.
Oh.
She enlightened me on lots of things I didn't know. So
this is so typical. It is like the blind leading the blind.
Well, yes.
And that's what's so right in this story. It's May who then is trying to help Baker out. And it's May is no better prepared.
She's older and she's been around, so she knows some things.
She knows a little bit more.
I liked Baker. She frustrated me sometimes because she is so naive. But I really had to put myself in her position at 17 in an era where she is being raised by the generation before her. And I actually had to go back and do some math. And I don't have my little math sheet in front of me. But I'm thinking her parents probably were her age around the end of World War II. And so that's when they grew up. And so their experiences and how they were raised is a more conservative ideology. And we're going to work hard because we have just gone through this war. When the teenagers came up through in the 60s, they saw this next generation as being completely clueless because the ideology was so strikingly different.
Mm-hmm.
So with Baker being so sheltered at this point, I was able to understand her and give her some grace and the lack of knowledge that she had about a lot of things.
We find out later that her mom basically doesn't provide her any knowledge in the same way she had no knowledge as a teenager. Right. This is just a bad lack of knowledge that her mother is passing along.
Right, because it's in her generation. Well, this is what my mom did.
Or didn't do.
This is what I'm going to do. And I think it's the right thing to do. I never doubted for once that she loved Baker, that she wanted the absolute best from her, and that she was going to take this problem and she is going to not make it a problem for Baker because she loves her and she doesn't want her to suffer the way she did. So I completely bought into Mom.
Oh, I did not completely buy into Mom. But before we talk about Mom, Wiley shows up at the beginning of the book. They have an intense and passionate love affair.
Of course. He's a hippie.
And he was good looking.
And he's a surfer boy.
Yeah.
Come on.
I thought that relationship was totally believable. Did you?
I liked Wiley the whole way through, and I could see why she liked him. But what I didn't buy is that she would have sex with him on the first night, because she doesn't even know what it's like to hold a guy's hand, let alone kiss them and do something like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little bit of a stretch.
Okay. I like how throughout the book, from when Baker does start thinking she might be pregnant, and then really through the rest of the book, it becomes pretty clear it's Baker's problem to solve. And that Wiley, he has already moved on to other women, and he's off to Mexico to evade the Vietnam draft. This is not going to impact his life in the least.
No. And she doesn't tell him about it. But I have to say something. It's possible that she could have had sex with him, because there could have been something that wasn't something that she drank.
For sure.
You have to say, okay, there's a possibility this could have happened, because if she was drugged up and stoned, it's possible.
Well, she was definitely drinking.
So she was incapacitated.
A little bit.
But it's love the one you're with, Nancy.
You got
Wiley's living the hippie lifestyle. That song does not come out for a couple more years. I researched that. But that's where Wiley's at. You're going to love the girl that you're with. And this one's not here, but this girl is. So he's living a beach lifestyle. He's enjoying himself.
Yeah. I absolutely loved this idea of the sexual revolution and love the one you're with. That here's the flip side of that. And where were the girls that got pregnant from all of that free love? It's really the untold story. There are so many examples in this book, just through the characters. Like, this is not a preachy book, but so many examples how women are bearing the consequences of sex so differently than men do. And so in the 60s, good girls were expected not to have sex outside of marriage, right? That good girls do not do that.
Absolutely.
You never hear good boys don't do that. There is definitely a double standard. And in fact, to be a real player, you probably should be having sex if you're a boy before you get married. You also want to have a skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Girls would get a bad reputation. And if girls got pregnant, there's no abortion available, at least legally. So there is the thought of going to Canada or Mexico, or there's the thought, because you don't want to face the shame, that you get sent away and your whole life is put on hold. Now, what's the boy doing? Oh, well, he's continuing to go to high school. He's continuing to live his life. He's going to go off to college. He's going to do whatever. His life is not going to be disrupted. Mm-hmm. There is one point, and Baker is actually talking to her mom. And I thought, this is the whole book for me. She says, if men could get pregnant, I bet it would be different.
Right. It would be.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I think that because there was so much shame on women at that time, and there was a hiding of the pregnancy, because you're not allowed to be pregnant as an unwed person, that a lot of these boys didn't know either. And there was shame if they did know. So it's like, what are you going to do to take care of it?
Yeah.
And so when you don't have that consequence, they're going to keep doing what they're doing, keep having sex, because they might not even know that they're impregnating all these women. Mm-hmm. And there's no consequence to them.
Yeah. First of all, Baker is unaware for several months that she is in fact pregnant, because she's not keeping track of her period or anything like that. She's not putting two and two together when she is nauseous, anything like that. So it's pretty late in her first trimester, I think, is about where she is, when she decides to try an illegal abortion in this back alley sketchy situation. But then she's scared away. And then she, again, putting her head in the sand, does nothing for weeks and weeks until her mom finally figures out, because Baker actually has a tough pregnancy. I was nauseous during a lot of my pregnancy. Yes, I did a lot of vomiting between meetings, but Baker has a tough one too. A lot of vomiting. And so her mom figures it out. And then she says, you just got to hide it we're going to get through graduation. You're going to be the valedictorian, wear clothes that hide it. And Baker's lucky. She doesn't really show a whole lot because she's a slender girl. And mom doesn't tell her what's going to happen, how she's taking care of it. She's like, you'll find out when it's time to find out. Unlike you, I felt Rose's motivation at this point in the story was to avoid the stigma of having a pregnant daughter.
Oh, yes, I agree with you. Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
she wasn't going to take that shame.
No.
And she wasn't going to allow Baker to have it either.
Right.
She was going to take care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is some selfishness there. I agree with you there. Her perfect little daughter is going to be her perfect little daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to bury that secret.
And I love how when she figures out this plan, Rose just can't help herself. It's not that Baker is going to go take care of some sick relative, which I think is a classic excuse for a girl being sent away to one of these homes.
Yep.
No. She got a special scholarship to the Sorbonne in Paris. Rose can't help herself from concocting a story that, again, she gets a lot of status from.
Of great success. And postcards that she's going to put around the house on the refrigerator.
Right.
About Paris.
Postcards from Paris.
Yes. To brag about my perfect little daughter.
Yeah.
I liked Rose. This is considered a female problem. And again, I think that's echoed with Gerald, the husband. He really has no say in this. He doesn't really talk to her about it. He doesn't make any decisions about this. Now, it's possible the Rose is talking to him about it. We don't know. But it is definitely this female problem. And Gerald is kind of out of it.
Yeah.
And her relationship with her dad is that Baker isn't even talking to her father about, Dad, what should I do? Should I talk to Wiley? Nothing.
Mm-mm.
It is a closed door. So the only person that she has is her mom. She's not getting any information there. So she goes to her cousin. And the cousin knows way before her mom about the pregnancy.
Yeah.
But I thought Gerald's role in the book was an important one because it shows you that this was falling on the women only.
He did a lot of sitting in front of the TV in his recliner and just letting all of this swirl around him and tried to pretend it wasn't happening.
Yeah, well, he was the breadwinner. That was his job. And that is certainly true of that generation. I earn the money and the wife takes care of the food and the parties and the daughter.
Even though it was kind of a lie because they were having financial problems, but they acted as though the family had no financial problems. So it was a bit of a sham, the whole thing. And Baker does start to see this and wonder about that. But we do find out later in the book, Rose is sharing with Baker her own abortion story. Then I understood a lot more about that character. And so I loved how the author did that took me from not liking her, but then suddenly this story explained so much. It's like, oh, okay, well, now I totally understand why she is the way she is and the decisions that she's made that might seem overbearing or cruel even. But now I understand why she's making these decisions. And part of it is because she does think that she is protecting Baker. And then at the end of the story, Rose throws off all convention. I mean, we're really at a crisis point here. If there's ever a crisis point, we are at a crisis point, and she is either going to decide to be there for her daughter or she is going to reject her daughter. And good for Rose. She doesn't even hesitate. She is there for her daughter. I thought that was beautiful because it wasn't clear as the reader the decision she was going to make. And I don't think it was clear to Baker what decision her mom was going to make. But in the end, you see Rose's absolute and complete love for her daughter that I could not have predicted at the beginning of the book.
I don't know that she would have had a choice to do anything other than come to her aid at that point. Her daughter is in serious labor. We're not talking this is going to be 24 hours. We're talking this baby is coming.
Yeah, baby's coming.
I don't know that she could have really hit it at that point. Hands down, that's her daughter. I completely buy in the fact that she loves her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Rose likes control. She likes predictability.
Mm-hmm.
She likes having self-determination, maybe. If I do these things, this is how this is going to work out. Women at that time didn't have a lot of power. They weren't going to really work outside the home. They weren't going to do this or do that. And so I found that her character, she definitely is a high reacher in some ways. Like she puts herself on boards and she tries to make changes and do this and that. So I guess I appreciated her maybe a little bit more. But again, she's a sign of her time.
Absolutely.
I'm sitting at home all day. Hey, you know what? I can put some really good makeup on and some jewelry and a party dress. When I step outside these stores, I can really look good. But she has all sorts of time to do that, Nance.
Fair enough. I do love the one point in the book where Baker is in the home she went away to so that her pregnancy would not be known. And a group of women from the community come in and throw a 4th of July party for them. Mm-hmm. And Baker's standing there thinking, well, these are just the kind of things my mom gets involved in. Like this could easily be my mom and her friends throwing this party for these poor, unfortunate girls. And I thought that was so insightful. I mean, I loved that because here's the other thing. Her mom doesn't even write to her or visit her hardly at all. And she's not that far away. Mm-hmm. And that felt somewhat neglectful too.
She writes her, but she also was told that she shouldn't write her or come to see her the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's true. So the other thing that I thought was definitely a sign of the times maybe, but also this idea that young women who are pregnant have shown that they cannot make good decisions. All of these girls who are in this home with Baker, none of them know what's going to go on. They don't know what's happening to their babies, where they're going, if they're going to a hospital, what's going to happen at the hospital. Like there's a little rumor mill that they have, which not the greatest source of information. And then once a girl goes into labor and she leaves the home, she never comes back. She just disappears.
It's kind of scary, yeah.
And they're instructed, don't talk about it with one another. It's just incredible. But I totally believe that this probably happened.
Oh, yeah. I think the author did some research, and this was sort of the standard thing of just sign this paper. What am I signing? Oh, it's what happens during labor and delivery. I mean, it seems like they're knocking these girls out so they don't even really remember delivering the baby. They never see the baby. And I've heard these kinds of stories before.
Right.
These girls have no options. They're going to get knocked out, and they're going to be awake the next day. And that's going to be it. They have already signed the paperwork. They're going to go home.
Yeah.
Just like that. Here's one thing about the girls that I did like in the maternity home. They all had different experiences. And I think that that was really good with the author. Some of them were in long-term, loving relationships with a sweetheart.
Yep.
Some of them, the fathers of their babies didn't know. Her roommate's guy is fantastic. He is lovely. This is her second one. She knows what's going on. She's been around. She knows what's going on. She makes that difficult decision.
Yeah.
I like the broad spectrum of people that were in this home. Some of them were younger than her. Some of them were already in college, but still there's the shame there and a lack of options. I forgot that girls could get kicked out of school when they were pregnant. When she said that, that was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Not that that happened, I don't think, when I was in school. If you're pregnant, then other people are going to get pregnant.
Yeah, I like that too, that the girls had such different experiences. And they also took different positions on things like abortion and birth control. they all had their own ideas about women's sexual health, which I thought was really interesting. I really like that too.
I did get the feeling that a lot of them were a lot wiser than Baker was. She's a fascinating character for me. I enjoyed going through the pregnancy with her because she's so unconnected. Let's just say she has an arc, right?
Yeah.
She comes at this very naively, very unempowered, very much under her mom's control, and she develops into her own person. She makes her own decisions.
I also love, she takes a brief journey to where May is living in a commune.
Oh, I love that part.
Well, you would, Linda, because you love communes. But
I did not like being in the commune.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to tell you that. Our parents drug us to a commune 2 times. I didn't like either time. But that was the time people did that. And I love that she got to experience that.
Yeah. And I thought, oh, I just hope this is not the place for her, because there's all kinds of beautiful things happening at the commune, of course. But I just thought, oh, that doesn't feel like a choice she would actually make. It feels like, well, what else am I going to do?
I just fell into it. Yeah.
And so I was so proud of the author, and I was so proud of Baker. Although, boy, some of her decision making right around that period of time, not great, but she decides that's not for her either.
Yeah, I'm glad that she left.
For me, that was the final decision. It was like, okay, she is really taking a hold of her life. But actually not the final decision. The final decision is, will she keep her baby or not? I have been thinking about this since I finished the book. Honestly, for me, it really doesn't even matter, because I enjoyed the journey with her so much. That is not the hinge for me that the book opens and closes on.
I would agree totally with you. In fact, I'm glad the author didn't tell us.
Okay.
I don't mind that now that I'm reading more. I don't think it matters. At this point, I am satisfied that she has some sense of herself and her own life and has taken some of that power to make her own decisions. She escapes from the maternity home, which is a fantastic story.
Yeah.
Again, kind of way outside her character. I'm like, oh my golly, this is crazy what she's doing here to escape.
Yeah.
But they do, and no one's hurt, thank gosh. I'm like, Baker, if you're going to burn the house down, you need to do this smarter than what you're doing.
There are people sleeping in this house.
Yeah. And some of her plan to do so didn't seem like it was going to work out really good. Like if I was the fire chief, I'd be able to go, well, let's see, who is not here right now? Oh, there's 2 girls missing? What, those 2 girls have
Yeah.
burnt the house down?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably would.
Probably, right.
Yeah. If I would have pegged it on anybody, it'd have been those 2.
Definitely.
No, but I'm glad, because I think it set the tone for Baker's going to do what's right for Baker. She's going to make the decision that she wants to make. I think we've got Rose enough on her own journey that if Baker says, this is what I'm going to do, Rose will have some decisions to make. But let's just face it, the entire neighborhood and all the relatives know by now, because of the way this whole thing went down.
Yeah.
It has spread. Everybody knows about it. So now Rose has got to decide, what role do I want to play in all of this? And what's my response going to be? I feel good about how the book left with that decision completely on Baker. I am glad she went down to see the baby.
Yes.
I'm glad we ended there when she's looking at the baby and she's deciding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because by then you feel like she's really starting to develop her own vision for her life. But now she also has the information she needs to make a decision, where before she was really dealing so much in the dark.
She's still very clueless, Nancy.
Well, there's still a lot she has to learn, but she is 17.
How in the world are you going to raise this baby?
If that's what she chooses,
How
yeah.
in the world? I think she's still so naive. Who's going to buy these diapers? Wiley's long gone. He's never coming back.
We will never see him again.
It's the Vietnam War. That's got many, many years to go, sister. He's staying in Mexico, living on the beach. He's not going to come back to the United
honestly,
States.
You were a fun little fling, but it's hardly like you were the love of his life.
Yeah, he's moved on.
And again, for me, reinforces the burden of the consequences of sex on women.
Several times throughout talking to you about this book, I think of Grease because there's Danny, who is the sex, the fun under the boardwalk, the summer fun, and yakking it up with his friends. And there's Sandy, so sweet. And she tells an entirely romantic story.
Yeah.
And how he gains popularity. But the girl, Frenchie, I think it is, that gets pregnant, she's got her problems that she has to deal with and figuring things out. So,
yeah.
Well, it was the 1960s and woo, lots going on.
Yeah, for sure. We've had a lot of books in 2026, and it is still not far into 2026 that have had a lot of teen pregnancy and abortions and tough decisions that young women have to make.
Yeah, you're right, because that was Vietnam as well.
Mm-hmm. Dust Child and Laws of Love and Logic also, and now Where the Girls Were.
Ooh, the 1960s, Nancy. Do you remember the 1960s?
Yeah, kind of.
I really feel like that's my generation.
Oh, really? Not the 70s or 80s?
No.
You were so young, though. I mean, you weren't even a teenager.
Yeah, but you know what, Nancy? I had peace and I had love and I saw myself as a flower child. And, I had those braids.
You had braids.
Those braids were very purposeful, one over each ear. And those teenage girls, yes, I was all about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew enough. There was enough talk about don't take any drugs from those older teenage girls or boys. They're going to pass off drugs to you, Linda. So no taking any drugs from those teenagers.
What?
Oh, yes.
What?
They're going to try to get it to you at the bus stop, walking down the street. No drugs.
What bus stop are you hanging around, Linda?
We had to walk back and forth to school.
There were no bus stops along the way.
Well, just mingling with teenagers. Okay, maybe this was because I did take some kind of drug when I was 4 years old, when I exchanged it for an M&M with the neighbor girl.
Well, there was that.
So maybe this is why my parents had to keep reminding me not to be taking any drugs from people, thinking that it was okay. Maybe they thought, Linda will eat anything that anyone gives her. No. They look like this and they look like that. Oh, yes. I remember school lessons on this. Yeah. Lots and lots of lessons about drugs.
I really never remember being told not to mingle with older teenagers who might be wanting to give me drugs.
Oh, yes. See, now Baker should have been raised with me. She would have been, no, you don't put your drink down. You got to be careful here.
I just am wondering what kind of a childhood you had that you were even possibly around my childhood. I remember being with a bunch of other children my age. I just don't remember opportunities for mingling with older teenagers who might be passing drugs off to me. Lenny, by the time 1970 came, you were 8.
Yeah, but I feel like my roots are the 60s.
Peace and love, baby.
Those peace signs were on every notebook that I ever did. Peace signs, peace signs, peace signs. It was Woody Woodpecker that I drew and peace signs.
This was all before Star Wars came along, and then everything was plastered with Star Wars for you.
I did love Star Wars.
You did. And let's be clear, that was the 1970s.
Yeah. My roots are in the 60s, though.
Wow.
Ooh, okay. So 1960s were fun. We are going to welcome our author, Kate Schatz.
I cannot wait to talk with her. I think this is going to be super fun to hear all about her thoughts about writing this book and Baker, and really interesting book.
Yeah, and Rose too. I want to hear her take on Rose, but also all of the culture of the 60s. I bet she did a lot of research. So I want to learn a little bit more about that.
And lots of great music, just like our last book. Lots of references to great music.
Good music too in the 60s. Yee-hee. Okay. Our episodes come out twice a month on the first and third Wednesday of every month.
See you next time, Lenny.
See ya.
Oh, no.